right, Brian, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It is an absolute honor to connect with you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Actually, let me try that again. Wakey, wakey.
That's
Does
right,
that sound
baby.
familiar?
Wakey, wakey. Pretty good, man.
So where does that come from, man? I gotta ask you that because you always do that, but I love it.
You know what? Where it came from, I started doing it. I mean, I didn't make up the word. People
Yeah.
say wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. I started saying it probably about 7 years ago, and I had to do a lot of East Coast presentations at like 7 a.m. and they always scheduled me as like a young guy, like to the conference who had to do these 7 a.m. sessions. But that was like 4 a.m. my time.
Yeah.
And so I just had to try to get myself jacked up. So I'm always like, wakey, wakey. And then it kind of evolved into my everyday habits now to getting my mind right, man, waking up my passion and potential. So,
Yeah.
I never would have thought I get more wakey messages, man, than you'd believe, but it's awesome. I love it.
I just had to start out with that, man, because I love that. So it's like, yes, it's your MO. I think it's awesome. So obviously I want to introduce you to my audience, Brian. Tell me a little bit, how your environment you grew up in, right? How you're raised that led you down to the path of where you are today. Like if you can connect the dots for us, that would be awesome. Hindsight's always 20/20, they say. So
For sure. So first and foremost, I'm naturally a very I would say I'm naturally an introvert. Most of my entire life, I've been really more of an introvert naturally. As a young kid, I never about expressing myself. I have massive fear of speaking in public. And as a kid, I don't really remember a lot too much when I was younger. My parents got divorced around the age of, I think I was 9 years old when my parents got divorced. And that was like a big traumatic thing for me. It was really tough. And somebody who doesn't open up a lot then, when certain things happen like that, I became closed off even more. I just didn't know how to, I didn't understand my emotions. I didn't understand how to deal with them. Fortunately for me, I was able to play sports growing up, and sports was my saving grace. I mean, having coaches and being a part of a team and what that represented for me was not that I just loved sports so much. I loved being a part of something. I loved that structure, that community, that bond. And so most of my, entire life growing up, I played sports. I was this active kid. I really use sports as an alter ego for myself to become something that I really wasn't, to help kind of fuel and get through a lot of emotions that I had and didn't know how to deal with growing up. And the sport I played was football. And so I'm like such a sensitive person. I'm like crazy emotional, so sensitive, which now is like used as my about like feelings at football practice.
yeah.
It's not an environment like that. Right. And so, you're in an environment where you're rewarded for ripping someone's head off, and the more violent, the more praise you get. And so that was, I really had to switch gears, but for me, that was something that I held a lot of things in as a kid. I didn't know how to express it now. And that was the only way that I could. But after a while, Drew, that becomes a toll on you, because the only way to express my emotions and the only way to express what's going on was actually through this form of rage and violence that, although is applauded by the external world, was like so detrimental to me from the age of 8 years old until, 22 years old through college. And so, throughout that journey, it just became, kind of to where I'm at today. There's a lot of things that happened. There's some major things that happened in that process for me. My parents getting divorced. I got made fun of when I was in the third grade by my peers and my teacher when I gave a class presentation. So I was like definitely shut down. I'm never putting myself out there again to be made fun of or look stupid.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to the end of college, I didn't know who the hell I was. Like, I didn't know who I was. I was so disconnected. I was so wrapped up in the identity of me as the sports person that I was so disconnected from Brian, who I was, what my purpose was, what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea because I've been smothering that with all kinds of other stuff to not deal
Yeah.
with.
Let's pause there because I have so many questions and things I want to bring up about that because I was raised very similarly. Sports was like this alter ego for me. I could kind of express myself that way because I didn't know how to in the real world. And, it was interesting how, you said that sports, it applauded you to do these things that to be violent, to be a certain way. And here you are a coach now. So let's fast forward a little bit and we'll go back. But here you are, or you're not a coach, but you train kids, sometimes, right? Kids that are athletes. How do you help them have a different mindset going into these sports that both you and I loved growing up, but you can kind of see it helped us to a certain point, but then you had to eventually find who you are through other avenues after sports. How do you help these kids have a healthy mindset? Or if you could go back in time and tell yourself, hey, play football, but this is, find who you are this way. How do you help kids that way? Do you understand like what I'm trying to say? Like, I know it's a hard question.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's a great question. Actually, I'm glad you asked it because, sometimes when I talk about this, it makes it sound like sports is the villain, and football is bad.
Yeah, it's not.
Football gave me more than I think I could ever give it, in the sense of, being a part of a team and all the amazing resources and having the structure and having the mentorship and having the guidance. And it taught me to love 4 a.m.s and getting up early and being committed and hard work. And it tests your habits. There's so many things about sports that are such a carryover to life. The biggest thing is that I tell our young kids, and especially why my heart is, when I work with high school groups or college groups, it is a chance, like you said, to go back and talk to myself. Hey, the biggest thing is to encouraging them to be open and to share more and not bottle this stuff inside of them, because that's the stuff that holds them back.
Yeah.
See, what holds them back at a young age is the pride, it's the ego, it's the I don't want to be made fun of. I got to keep that image and keep that cool, and that is huge. I mean, for me, that was everything. That was the biggest anchor that held me down. So being a resource to them, teaching them to be resourceful, because a lot of these young kids, and it's just like with young kids as it is with adults, but at that age, when you're a kid, you have those resources right in front of you. You just don't see it. You take it for granted.
Yeah.
Your parents, what they're giving to you and what they're investing into you. And you're like, get away from me. I remember I'd be so annoyed at my parents all the time. I'm like, oh my God, like what an ungrateful little shithead I was,
Yeah.
And I talk about that in my book. Like, I was just a dick. Like, I was so ungrateful.
Yeah.
I didn't take advantage of the resources I had and become resourceful. And I think that's the biggest thing that I teach them at that age, is because when you're done and you got to figure it out on your own, it's exponentially harder. And so take the good from what you're going to get, because sport is going to build your character.
Yeah.
99% of people aren't going to make it to the next level.
Yeah.
But you're going to make it to the next level in life if you extract those good characteristics out of what sport will give you. But at a younger age, be so much more resourceful, and they're going to get ahead so much faster.
Yeah, I think those are great points, man. And everything you're saying, man, is just like bringing back these memories of like going through exactly what you were going through, man. I can definitely relate to everything you're saying. So let's go back to college, right, where we push pause. Here you are, you're playing college football, or tell us about like that journey into college football, and then continue from there to where you are today.
Yeah, so it had always been a dream of mine to play college football. And I wanted to play Division I, but I was, most of my life, I was always like the second guy or overlooked, whether that was, so I was like, I would have stats, but I'm second team. And it was just this, like, it was always just kind of like this underdog uphill battle. And at the time, you're like super pissed off and, but now I look back at it, I'm so cool, because it made me work so much harder just to get a chance at proving myself. And so, I wanted to go Division I. And there was really only kind of two groups of people or three people total that really supported me. Was my parents and my high school football coach. I'd gotten offers from Division I, AA schools and Division II to go play there. And I was like, no, I really want to go play Division I. I mean, me and my best friends, at the time were like, you can't play Division I. I mean, these are my friends, quote unquote, right? Or like shitting on me, And, but I just had this burning desire. I wanted to do it. And I said, I'll do whatever it takes. And I said no to the scholarships. I walked on at San Jose State as a recruited walk-on. And my high school coach told me, rest in peace. He passed away this year. He said, you get one shot at this. No money in the world will ever be able to get back eligibility. You can be a billionaire and you cannot buy back eligibility. Yeah. So if you get one, there's very few things in life you get an opportunity to do and you can never get back. And doing this eligibility is one of them, And so he said, so, if this is what you want to do, you got to go after it, and bet on yourself, double down on your strengths. I didn't understand what that meant at the time. Double down on your strengths, your hard work, your commitment, your dedication, and have faith that good things will happen. And I remember I came on San Jose State. I was there early. I'm excited. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna bust my butt. I get number 99, corner locker. They think I'm a kicker. I'm like, no offense against kickers, but I wasn't a kicker,
Yeah,
I was a wide receiver, safety. And so again, but for me, it was just, I'm back in the same thing, got to work my ass off, got to prove myself. And that for me was this fuel and this fire to just attack it and get after it. And there's a really important lesson I actually have not even talked about I didn't even talk about this in my book. And so on most podcasts, but this is such an important lesson I want to share with the listeners.
Cool.
When I came in, I ended up playing as a true freshman. And again, I'm still a walk-on. I'm busting my ass. I'm backing up a 2-time All-American safety. I'm in a position I never played my entire life. And I'm figuring out by busting my tail. I get some playing time freshman year. I get a fair bit of playing time my sophomore year. Again, hardest worker in the weight room, not the strongest guy, just winning the hardest worker awards, all that type of stuff, driven. And I had this underdog mentality because nothing was given to me. So I get a chance my junior year, he leaves and I get a chance to compete for the starting position. I ended up becoming the starter, have a great season. I was second in our conference in interceptions. I'd really just been so dialed in. And so it's one of those stories, fantastic, underdog busts his ass, becomes a starter. And what happened next was a lesson that taught me something that I live by every single day. I broke the one rule that was able to elevate me to this next level. The rule was that don't believe the haters or the hype. Don't believe when people tell you that you're great. Don't people tell you that you're terrible. Just bust your ass and do it for the sake. Yeah. So I'm like the guy. I'm going into my senior year. I'm the guy. I'm a starter.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in my life that I had gotten comfortable. I believed the hype. No, I'm good. I wasn't not showing up to stuff, but I wasn't putting in the extra work over and over and over and over and over again, like I had done. And it was the greatest lesson that ever happened. I lost my starting position at my senior year. I played about halfway, and then I just, I wasn't doing that extra stuff that I was before. Wow. I believed the hype, man. And I lost the starting position, and everyone's like, you start hearing other stuff. Your parents start saying certain stuff, but I knew in my heart, man, wow. I knew it was on me. I wasn't putting in the time. I wasn't putting in the work, and I had to have a real hard check with myself. And so I still became a massive support on the team and was still a captain on the team. But that lesson right there, Drew, was so important to me that I am obsessed with business and now in life. And I tell our staff all the time, do not believe any of these words. Do not believe the hype.
Yeah.
Because it's the hype that crushes people most in their life.
Yeah.
If they're going to get blinded by the haters, they probably shouldn't even be in the arena in the first place.
Yeah.
When we start to believe that we're better than we are, that we got it, that we're set, is when, boom, man.
You get blindsided.
that's when you get blindsided taken out. So,
wow.
It was a great lesson for me to just every single day, just stay focused on the work that needs to get done and don't get high on the highs.
Yeah.
Don't get low on the lows. Just keep grinding.
And I think we see that in the health and fitness industry sometimes, where someone will lose a bunch of weight, they'll have this remarkable transformation, and then boom, a lot of them gain the weight back, or a lot of them go back into their old ways, right? They get comfortable with where they're at. They're like, yeah, I can, I lost the weight. Now I can relax a little bit. I can eat those old foods again. I can take some time. I worked really hard to get here. What I'm saying? That mindset of just always just like, oh, there's a finish line at the end of this race. There is no finish line,
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing I want to go back to is with this journey that you've been on, when was it that you discovered who you are and what your purpose was? Because I know that football was, kind of that alter ego you mentioned, but when was that defining moment that led you down this path of like, this is who Brian really is? Like, without football, who are you? And when did you discover that, and how did you discover that?
Yeah. So when I was done playing football, I wanted to be a firefighter, and I went through the whole course. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
firefighter academy. I got my EMT. I'm on that path, and I'm really kind of trying to be like a lone ranger. Like I'm trying to see who I can be on my own. Like my relationships weren't that strong with my family because I was still kind of trying to be rogue. Like, let me be me. Like, I don't want,
Yeah.
like, I'm still kind of like, I don't want the support. I don't need to hold my hand. Again, really ungrateful in my early 20s. And when I was 23 years old, I got a call from my sister at 12 in the morning, and it was the worst day of my life, but it inspired the best days of my life. And I got a call from my sister telling me that my stepdad had taken his life.
Wow.
And my stepdad, who was basically like my father as well, raised me like his son. He'd been my life since I was 9 years old. He was that one of the most selfless people, but he was so disconnected from himself. I grew up in a home where I'd witnessed alcoholism. I'd witnessed a lot of things that my very selfless giving to people, but not so much giving to themselves. And when you see that, it's one or two ways. You can either become the statistic and just go along with what you see, or you can make a big change. And there's something about that, Drew. What happened during that time was that, and I'm personal training along this way. Like, I'm personal training. I like it. I'm working with clients. I'm training them as if they, I'm empowering them to understand that they are athletes.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing my thing. I'm not really doing a lot of inside work as I really needed to be. And that happened. It just woke me up. About the power of connection and the detriment of disconnection. And I was going down the path of disconnection.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of right things for all the wrong reasons for all the wrong people. And I wasn't taking care of my relationships. Number one, the relationship with myself, being really honest and authentic, and the relationships around me. And I'd witnessed what that can do to somebody, right? I had the same excessive type of tendencies. I would go out and I would party, but I'm thinking I'm 22. It's what you do,
Yeah.
but that 22 turns into 30 real quick unless you don't break some habits.
It's true.
And so I saw myself going down that path, and I said, I got one of two options. I can go down a path and everybody say, oh, I get it. It's, guy had a tough upbringing and had a tough go, or I can use this to really fuel my fire and get, number one, I became so massively obsessed with like self-awareness, diving in deep, owning my story, really sitting in those dark places and learning and understanding and listening to what's going on inside. And I just became obsessed. And through that transformation within myself, I saw that was when life started really changing. My exterior started changing when I started changing my software. And once I started having some more ownership and experience, that became a way that I would work with clients. And so it was at that point that I was done. Like, I just stopped the fire academy. I was the EMT.
Wow.
I'm like, this is the path I'm going to go down. I don't know how I'm going to make money. I don't know how, I don't know anything about like how I'm going to have stability, but I'm so focused on this, and I'm so passionate about, and I was passionate about it because I needed to fix it within myself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when people are passionate about something is because of like what they're personally went through that evokes this, like, I want to go help the world now, in this space. And so it was at that point for me, man, at 23 years old, it was just all in, burn the boats. This is exactly what I do. I want to help people get more connected, and training and exercise became the first vehicle, training in a gym vehicle for me to start doing that work with people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And I think, if you are going to help people, you got to help yourself first, because otherwise it comes across as fake and inauthentic, and people can sense that. And so I think the greatest trainers out there, the greatest coaches out there, the greatest leaders are ones who have figured themselves out first and have learned how to change their mindset, right? Because as we both know, mindset's the biggest piece of transformation, right? You could give someone the best meal plans, you can give them the best trainer, give them the best workouts. none of that matters if they don't know how to change their mindset and change their perception of the way they see themselves and the importance of living a healthy lifestyle. It's not just about physical transformation. That's a byproduct of living this healthy lifestyle. It's the mental, emotional, spiritual transformation that you go through. And that's, if you can go through that and have that healthy mindset, the physical stuff will follow. But so that's what I want to talk about with you from 23 on to where you are now. What have you discovered as far as, helping people with mindset? Right. I think you do an awesome job with, the structuring of workouts and helping people with nutrition. But how do you help people with mindset? And I think your book goes into that, but I kind of want to let you talk about the importance of mindset.
Yeah, well, the most important thing in order to get people on the path to elevate is they need one thing. And anybody who's great at anything, they have this one thing: clarity. And clarity, it's not just on what they want. Right? So many times we hear about what's the goal? What do you want?
Yeah.
And that to me is like step 4.
Yeah.
It's easy to say what you want. I mean, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want, but typically those wants come from what I see externally, what my eyes are seeing.
Yeah.
Now, what's the vision that's going on inside? What do you need?
Yeah.
And so one, we assess even the needs before or the wants.
Yeah.
Because if you have your needs set, the wants are just like, it's just like an overfilling bucket at that point. But before even that, we want to understand, or at least create, who are you? Like at the base of everything that you have, who are you? Aside from this title that you have, your sport, your job, your being a dad, a mom, like all that stuff, who are you? Who is Drew, right? Like, who is Brian? Not what you do. Who are you, right? Yeah. And that's the most important thing and what that comes down to is all around understanding your values. Your values are the way that you operate. The values are how you're going to base every decision in your life. Your values give you a chance to increase your value, which is your worth. Your values is knowing what matters. This is how I'm going to live my life. This is what's most important. Then you can increase your value by living those every single day. Once you understand what's most important to you, what is most important to you, only then will you begin to start have an idea of creating your vision. Now, I want to give people a tip right now, because this is what I'm saying sounds like it sounds great, but this is actually really hard for people to do. To write down and understand. There's company that have core values. Trust me, I meet with a lot of people of all levels, and they do not have their own personal core values in life. And this is their life, right? They are their own company, their own business. This is how it operates. So the biggest tip I want to give people who are listening right now is, if you're having a hard time, do this one thing. Make a list of all the things for sure, 100 million % you do not want in your life. Yeah. Most people write like a novel. I don't want negativity. I don't want gossip. I don't want this. And see what's good in that process is we're increasing one thing, which is so important: self-awareness. Yeah. Now, if you're writing down all the things that you don't want, then every time those things pop up, you got a choice to make. Now, if you're continuing to let those things happen, you're tolerating it, then you're choosing to not live the life that you want. So we start with the who, then we go into the how. How do you want to live your life? What's your lifestyle like? Don't even look at the job yet. What's the lifestyle you're like? So that's all the things that I went through. I want to help people. I want to be in an environment that is vibrant and allows for me. I need creativity. I need autonomy. I need collaboration. I need a lot of energy. I need a lot of positivity, whether that's with people I'm dating or my wife or my work environment. So there's all these things are so important to me. Where I live, I need to live by the water. I constantly write this vision about what my life I want it to look like. See, then I attach goals to this. I want to live by the water. Okay, so I need to buy a house by the beach. Right? Yep. I need to achieve certain tasks. So now it's easy for me to attach a goal that represents my lifestyle. Yeah. And when people can get to that level, number one at the who, just by increasing that self-awareness of knowing who they are, what they want, and what they do not want, gives people clarity, which is the most important thing. And so that's really what we start with. We start with a lot of questions. We just trying to get people to understand exactly what those are for them. And because we're constantly bombarded with so much stuff from, it's not just media, social media. It goes deeper than that, man. It's parents. It's siblings, it's friends, it's the neighborhood you live in, it's the colleagues. This is this circle that you're surrounded with is constantly flooding this system about what you should do, shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And if you don't get your game plan set, if you don't have your own game plan, it's like walking onto a football field and being like, hey, we're just going to figure it out. Like whatever the defense does, we're going to figure it out. It's like, dude, good luck with that. You're going to get your ass kicked. And life is the same. So that's really, at the base level we start with.
Yeah, I love that. And, I'm reading this book called Willpower Doesn't Work. And in the book, he talks about, the power of environment. He talks about humans being able to adapt to the environment. So if you don't like who you are, it's hard to just willpower your way through that. The better way to do it is to change your environment, and you'll adapt to that new environment. And I think it's really powerful, and kind of goes along with what you're saying, is like the world's going to shape you unless you learn how to shape yourself. So if you don't change your environment, the world has its own environment for you to shape you how it wants, right? And so you have to build your own environment to shape you into who you want to become. And so I think that's really great advice. I'm going to go back to a little bit, shift gears here, and go back to your personal story of how you became a Nike Master Trainer. Is that correct, how I say that? Nike Master Trainer.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Tell us that story of like how that happened. Did you ever foresee this happening? And then what does that mean to be a Nike Master Trainer? What does that entail?
Yeah. So the short story, the short answer to how I became, if there's just one thing is, I don't even know. People are like, well, that's not even an answer, but I don't know the one step. What it is I would say it's being so focused on my mission, being so focused over the last 15 years of dedication to a service and not towards a title of a brand or organization. I've worked with a lot of companies throughout my career. And for me, what company is, it has to align with my values. They have to align with the way I do certain things. Yeah. Otherwise, I've been in situations early on when I was younger. I'm like, man, this is like, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm breaking all my rules. I don't have the freedom. I feel like I'm working for somebody. I'm doing all this stuff. Yeah. And so I think that when you're so focused on your mission at hand and the purpose of doing something that is a greater good, bigger than yourself, like for massive impact for humanity or for a greater purpose, other people want to be a part of that. Yeah. And that's really what happened, with Nike and with other organizations that I've been with, is that it became, hey, how is this going to be a synergistic relationship? I will be so honest. My goal was never, I didn't even know that there was a Nike trainer or master trainer thing. Yeah. I didn't even know about that. Right. Yeah. But you meet enough people along the way, and then somebody gives you a phone call. Hey, we're doing this. You're like, okay, well, let me see what it's about. And not getting distracted by the titles. And I think, one of the biggest things I'll say this to you so everybody can hear it indirectly, is that if you're chasing that title, I want to be this title, you need to fix your system. Yeah. You got to focus on your mission. Focus on going double down on your mission, on your impact, and all of those other players will want to be a part of it along the way. And if they don't want to be a part of it along the way, it doesn't matter, because you're so focused on what you want to do. And so I think that's really what it was for me, and what it means. What it means is, I think it gives me an opportunity for sure to support a lot of people in this mission, to help a lot of people. So there's everything that I do from content to videos, to photos, to events, workouts, collaborations, behind the scenes R&D type stuff. Yeah. But I've learned so much more from Nike on just the way they operate and the way they do things, more than just kind of for the title standpoint. So I think, and for me, it becomes another vehicle. Gotcha. I'm not attached to the title, nor am I attached to the title of being a gym owner of my performance center, FNS training center. Mm-hmm. My gym is a vehicle. Nike is a vehicle. My social media is a vehicle. It is a vehicle that allows me to get to my mission of helping 10 million people live more focused, more fit, and more free. Mm-hmm. And if those vehicles don't help me get there faster, then it's just an easy, it doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah. And another thing I would throw in there is money. Money as a vehicle as well. People think money is the end game. Like, I just want money. well, cool. That's not that's not the end game. There's no finish line. Money was just a vehicle to get you to do to what you want to do, what you were born to do. But people that are just so focused on money as the end game end up miserable, right?
Exactly.
So I have a good friend of mine, Bedros, who owns some Fit Body boot camps. He talked about this income versus impact, and those who focus just on income, same thing. They're always chasing the income, but they're always miserable. Even if they get the income, they're miserable still. Versus chase impact. How can you make a bigger impact, and then income will follow that? Then you're so much more fulfilled. And that's what I love. Tony Robbins' quote: "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." Because you could have all the success, but if you're not fulfilled with it, then you're just going to be another miserable rich person. And there's a lot of people like that. So going back to what you do, and you've trained a lot of high-end athletes and big name people. How do you deal with people's egos, or do you see that, and what's helped you navigate those waters of having to maybe sometimes deal with ego, and do you see ego being a downfall sometimes for some people? And how have you, like you talked about before, your ego kind of got in the way your senior year? How do you push back your ego to kind of like make sure your own ego stays at bay sometimes?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the most important thing as a leader is to lead third. And in this order, you got to listen and learn and then lead.
Gotcha. Okay.
When you start with, hey, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, it's like, damn, well, I don't even know what's going on with you. I didn't have a chance to listen to you and understand what's going through your head. Where are you at right now? What's going on in life?
Yeah.
Because all those other things play such an important factor in every aspect.
Yeah.
What's going on at home? What's going on at school? What's going on with your friends? What's going on at work? You having a tough job? If somebody just comes in here into my facility and I'm like, we're going to get after this shit, but I never just listen, like, how's life going right now? I mean, we could have a massive, like a fight, a blowout, right?
Yeah.
And then it gives me an opportunity to learn what's going on. So much about leadership is those first two things. And I learned that the hard way, by just trying to give advice too quick and also being on the other end. So, and then expectations. Then whenever you're working with somebody, what's most important is just setting the expectations from day one and understanding that you guys are a team. And it doesn't matter, I coach people that are billionaires, that have a lot of money. But if I looked at them and saying, oh my God, they're still a human being who have human problems to deal with. And they're extremely fit when it comes to making money, but they may be extremely unfit when it comes to dealing with their emotions or their fitness, right?
Yeah.
Being fit is being able to control a result. So some people can be fit in one aspect and very unfit in another aspect.
Yeah.
And so just knowing where you come in and knowing about being on the same page, I think that's the biggest thing. Is it doesn't matter what a person does, setting those expectations from the very beginning. Hey, this is how we're going to operate. I'm going to support you. Those lines of communications, make that so clear from the very get-go, that has enabled me to build trust and build a relationship where we're growing together. Because as a coach, at the end of the day, what I do for people, my success is dependent on you getting better.
Yeah.
And you're not getting better. Something that's messed up with my system.
Yeah.
If I'm, trying to help you out in this process, right? And we're both all in. And so it's having that ownership and responsibility, I think, as a leader and as a coach, that we'll get the job done, and we'll deviate when we need to, as long as we're on the same page.
Yeah, gotcha. And then what about as far as you? What have you learned over the years as far as your own ego? Like, what are some things you do to keep your head from getting big and to stay humble and stay grounded? What's that for you?
Be the dumbest person in the room. and I think it's that. And I say that because I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the dumbest person in the room. I didn't want to be the person who was like, oh, dude, I didn't want to be the weakest person in the room or the dumbest person in the room. Now I'm saying dumbest person in the room is like, I want to surround myself with people who are so smart. If I'm standing next to somebody, you can bet your ass they're better than me at something.
Yeah.
I mean, something because that's who I want to surround myself with. Because that inspires me. Something that was like that why I didn't grow, or who knows what my potential could have been. My God, if I just let go of some of this ego when I was younger.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that I tell people now is that because the more that I don't know, is when I start to grow and I start to figure those things out from people who, become second nature to them. So I really try to surround myself with people where my weaknesses are their strengths. I don't like to surround myself with people where my strengths are their strengths. It's like having two Batmans in the room.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I need a Hulk, I need, I need Thor in here. We can't have the same skill sets. And so in my personal life and business, the way I hire people, I'm like, and you're great, but we already have two of those,
Gotcha. So you're assembling like an Avengers.
Exactly, man. That's the whole, I don't know how I'm so bad with superheroes, but that's exactly how I tell people to assemble their crew in life. That's the fastest way. You talked about this earlier, right? Is you want to change your circumstance, change your environment.
Yeah.
And I talk about all the time, you got to change your associations.
Yeah.
You are your associations. And it's the cliche thing we've heard, but it's so true. Like you are the sum of the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And if you want to get somewhere faster, you got to surround yourself with people who are playing at a different level. And to me, it's two things. I tell people all the time, people who work for me, people that I'm around, I want you to feel two feelings around me, one of two feelings. If you feel one of two feelings around me, I'm happy. Either inspired or intimidated. Because if you're inspired, we're going to do some epic shit together.
Yeah.
If you're intimidated, you're going to walk out the door, and that's okay because this probably isn't going to work.
Yeah.
But that to me is something that when I'm around too, like now I feel like I'm intimidated by somebody, I'm like, I know I need to be around them.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna pull something out of me. It's so uncomfortable around them. Because they challenge me so much.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to understand because people want the comfort of being in their comfort zone and they want to, get comfortable with being comfortable. But man, that's not how you grow in this life. That's not how you progress. Like get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if you can learn that now, it'll save you so much in the long run. But the problem is that, based on our experiences as a kid, we, are either shamed into this comfort zone or we're disciplined into this comfort zone or we're told to be a certain way. So we're like, oh man, I don't like it to get yelled at. I don't like confrontation. And so you're kind of stay trapped in that little bubble of your comfort zone your entire life until you get brave enough to step outside of it. And you're like, oh, actually it's not that scary. But it's just that first step that's really hard for people because they're like, nope, this happened.
But
it
still
past.
Is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like to be honest, and people listening, like you can confess this, as I would too.
Yeah.
Like it's still scary.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, oh, like I know I have to do it, but I'm still scared of doing it.
Yes.
So I think that people see that, oh man, Drew, like he just does these things, and he doesn't have the fear factor anymore. Dude, F that.
Yeah.
I still have the fear factor. I still walk in and still feel scared and uncomfortable. I just know that, and as you know too, doing it enough, that's the only way that you grow.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't the case. I wish it wasn't the case, having to put yourself in these uncomfortable situations and being challenged. But it is. And but to say, I think it's really important for just people to know, like to say, like to validate it, but just to know that you're guaranteed if you don't do it, you are guaranteed one thing, nothing will change.
Exactly.
So what do you play the odds?
It's the same thing with like trying to change your fitness level. Like working out sucks. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard no matter who you are. Even if you're the highest level athlete, it's gonna be really hard, and you know it. But something you have to do. We all wish that there was a pill we could take, and boom, we're just this endurance runner, we're this bodybuilder, we're this power lifter with a perfect body. And it doesn't happen that way, right? So that's great. Great advice for people listening.
And a quick thing for somebody to
ahead.
understand on that point, and just to that point, I just had a conversation with somebody on the phone yesterday. It's one of the somebody that I'm mentoring, about, oh, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. And I'm like saying, let me be very clear. Okay. I hate doing those things, but I like what it gives me more than I hate doing those things.
Yep.
I don't really like to work out, to be honest with you, but I like feeling good, looking good more than I don't like to work. You see what I mean?
Yep.
And so just making that quick assessment, I think, where people were, it's just, I just think it needs to be talked about so much. People who listen or hear people have, that are having success in something, either in fitness or in business or in life, they just think that they just like everything they just love.
Yeah.
And it's not the case, right? But you just know you just got to do these things to get this, and it's part of the game. It's part of the process. And,
yeah.
And
even Muhammad Ali said, Yeah, Muhammad Ali said that the same thing. I hated every minute of training, but he knew what he had to do to get to be what he was, and you got to put in that
100%.
work. So Brian, coming up on time here, but question for you is what brings you fulfillment? I just talked about success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So what in your life fulfills you?
For me, fulfillment is really living my values. I think
Yeah.
number one is being authentic. So the most important thing that brings me fulfillment in my life is being authentic to myself, being unapologetically me, the weird me, the quirky me, not trying to be Mr. Cool like I was for 24 years of my life. That is the biggest piece, because then that's when I feel the most free.
Yeah.
The second thing is doing things with passion, having that mentality of just playing with passion, no matter what I'm doing. It's just I'm gonna play with passion, whether I'm playing with my daughter, spending time with my wife, training clients, sweeping the driveway. Like I just want to find the joy in whatever I'm doing, practicing
Yeah.
what I'm preaching. Number three, it's my core value.
Yeah.
As I'm sharing this with you, this is what brings me fulfillment. Not being a hypocrite. There's nothing worse than I can't stand knowing something, or hypocrites, and I don't want to be that person as well. Consistent communication with myself, that brings me fulfillment every single day. That's why I say wakey wakey. My focus of the day is,
Yeah.
because that to me, I'm not telling him what other people should focus on. I need to communicate with myself every single day, having that conversation with myself and listen and learn. As I said before, to lead myself, I got to do that internally first. And the last thing for me is protecting my tribe, protecting anybody that I'm around, anybody that comes in my circle, that I want to have their back. I hate gossiping. I hate negativity. I've been a person who talks shit about people. I've been talked shit about before. It sucks. It's not good whatsoever. So when I'm staying in my lane, a lane in which I created by those guardrails of values, is when I feel the most fulfilled. And it's not a what type of thing. It's a type of it's a way of living, and that's what I'm protecting every single day. And everything that I touch becomes affected by that, whether I'm living that way or whether I'm not. So that's why it's so important for me is to take care of those roots every single day. I think it ties in. It's maybe a good example from just core values that I have, but it's that way that fulfills me.
Perfect, man. Yeah, and like you talked about earlier in the episode, clarity, and I can definitely tell you have that clarity, man. You're a great example, and to me, even, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the words you just said. Lastly, before we tell people where to go and all that stuff, college football season's here. Who do you got this season? I know you're excited about college football being back.
I'm a Spartan alum. They took a tough loss. My God,
I
man.
know.
But it's hard to go against. I got to go with Alabama again. I'm such a Saban fan. I love what he does with culture and building that up, man. It's so hard to root against him. So, but this is my favorite time of the year. This to me is like, it's like bigger than my birthday. Just this time, the season. So, but I'll go with Bama.
Okay.
What do you have?
For me, I'd probably say. I'm a USC guy, USC Trojans.
Okay.
We've had our glory years, but then, we got caught, doing what everyone else does, but we got caught.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Right.
But, we're rebuilding. We'll see how this new freshman quarterback is. But it's all just fun. Like, to have it back again, it's a different energy. It's a different feeling. Saturdays roll around. Man, it's I don't know. I've always loved it. So I'm glad that we can connect on that.
For sure.
Yeah, man. All right. So where can people go to find you? Social media, website, all that.
Yeah, social media. I'm most active on Instagram at Coach Brian Nunez. Post workouts every single day. Help people, give them tips on how to stay more focused and fit. My website, briannunez.com. Mm-hmm. And those are the two easiest ways to stay up to date on what's going on and connect with me. So,
okay. And where can they find this book, Elevate to Great, man?
Yeah, on Amazon.
Amazon. Okay,
yes,
Elevate to Great.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you sending this to me. As you can see on the back, man, he's got some big names, recommending him. So, Brian Nunez, really appreciate you coming on, man, and thank you for what you do. Really appreciate what you do for a lot of people out there. And here's to 10 million people. So, I think
Love
you're
it, man.
doing
I
an awesome
appreciate
job.
you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Drew.
Yep, we'll be in touch. See you, Brian.